So if it is the HTML 5.0, it means this is the newest version, and you can include like video, you can include animation, you can include some moving graphic in the HTML, and it also includes CSS, JavaScript, and DOM. So DOM, we call it, this is DOM as the data object model. So HTML, as you know, it defines the website content through the semantic text. Semantic text means we know about heading, paragraph, list, and etc. CSS, cascading style sheet, it defines the rules or style for presenting every aspect of an HTML document. So you can define the font. For example, what is the family of the font? What is the size? What is the color? What is the width? And etc. Or you can define the background, whether it is the color or image, the position, or whether it is repeated or not, and the position and layout. So any object on the page. With the JavaScript, we want to define the dynamic behavior. So the dynamic behavior means there might be some programming logic for interaction with the user to handle event and etc. So that's why in the, I think there are many websites, there are many books also, they try to discuss the combination of these three, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So the features of the HTML, we have the dynamic content. So the dynamic content, previously it was Internet Explorer. Now you can have the Microsoft Edge. So with the HTML, you can change the content of the page after it is loaded. So if you use only the HTML, the page will be static. But when you use the dynamic, then the HTML will have some kind of graphical with movement or something with animation. So we have positioning and animation. It is the ability to place an HTML element at a specific point of page relative to another element or the browser window itself. And there might be some font download. So if you are using the Microsoft, then it will be dynamically download fonts for the use in the web page. If you use another kind of browser, it depends whether the browser have the default setting or not. And for the DHTML, we can have a kind of data binding. Data binding means we can connect the HTML so that it can be easily binding the individual elements in your document to the data. So the data means you can connect to some kind of database, or you can connect to CSV file and etc. And we have the dynamic styles. The dynamic styles, I think you already learned the basic bootstrap. So the bootstrap JavaScript, it means that we can leverage the JavaScript file. That's one of the key features of the HTML. So you can have the CSS. You can quickly change the appearance and formatting of elements in the document without adding or removing the elements. So with the bootstrap, so you can just put some kind of table in the HTML, and then you can define what is the class that you want to put in the table of the HTML. So it is, we call it as the dynamic. So the JavaScript refers to the dynamic behavior in a web page. It is a front-end scripting language. Front-end. What we learned before the mid exam, you learn about back-end. So in the back-end, you create the views.py, and then you set up the URL, and then you make the models. So you create the DB, and then you try to connect the data into the views via the URL. So the front end, it will be a little bit different with the back end. So the front end, we will use the scripting language, that is the JavaScript, and it was developed by Netscape for the dynamic content. So originally, the JavaScript was developed by Netscape. This is one of the browser. So they call it is lightweight. Lightweight because the code is very light, but with limited capabilities. It can be used as object-oriented language. So many people say that if a programming language can be used for the object-oriented language, then it is the high-level programming language. If there is object-oriented language, then it is a high-level programming language. And JavaScript, usually we call it as the client-side technology. Client-side technology, it is embedded in your HTML page, and it will be interpreted by the web browser. JavaScript, many people say that it is simple and flexible, and it is powerful to manipulate the data object model. So if you understand the programming languages, so until now, I think you learned already about the Python, or maybe some other language like R and etc. So this is another kind of programming language, JavaScript. So it will be very, very easy for you if you understand other programming language. So what is DOM? DOM stands for Document Object Model. So with JavaScript, we can restructure an entire HTML document by adding, removing, changing, or reordering items on a page. The JavaScript gains access to all HTML elements through the DOM. So we will look at what is the DOM and how we can access the DOM. So the advantages of the JavaScript allows interactivity. So it is the dynamic, interactive, such as we can implement the form validation. I think in some weeks later, we will learn about this one. And how we can react to the user actions to handle the keys. For example, if you press Control in your keyboard, what will happen to your web page? So those kind of things, you can handle it in the JavaScript. Changing an image on moving mouse over it. So if you have an image, okay, so there might be some ways to change, and we call it mouse over. So mouse hover means when you move your mouse into this image, the image will be changed. So that's kind of thing, it will happen because of the JavaScript. Sections of a page appearing and disappearing. So this is also another things in the JavaScript. Content loading and changing dynamically. Performing complex calculation. Yeah, this is another things that we can do with the JavaScript. And custom HTML control. For example, if you have table and then you want to scroll, so we can use with the JavaScript. And we can implement Ajax functionality. So we will learn later about Ajax. So what can JavaScript do? So JavaScript can handle events. Event means click, move your mouse, or click down, click up. Okay, so those kind of things we call it as event. We can read and write HTML element and modify the DOM tree. So we can modify the document object model tree. We can validate the form data. So if you still remember, you can use the CRUD. Okay. So with the CRUD in the backend, we can also create the CRUD in the front end. Okay. You can access or modify the browser cookies. So I think last time we learned about cookies. Whenever you enter a website, now you will connect to the cookies. We can detect the user browser and OS. So if you look at some of the website, they will recognize that you are using Chrome and your computer is using Windows because they have the JavaScript. And we can use it as the object-oriented language. It can handle exceptions like other programming languages, and it can perform the asynchronous server call, or we call it Ajax. So let's make the JavaScript. Okay, let's deal with this JavaScript. As I mentioned to you, I do not know why there is a kind of issue in this computer. In your computer, you can make a new project, basic JS. In order to place the HTML file, let's use the folder name templates. So I think you already know this kind of stuff. Okay. See. Let me check again if I can work with the basic JS. I think no. Let's see. Okay, I think I need to fix this one later. Okay, I will just use this project, okay, because basically JavaScript will not connect to the database. For today, I will not connect to the database. So let's look at the details. Now let's create the views.py. So views.py in the basic JS. In this case, because my project name is big project, so I will just use here. Okay, I will use the big project, and then I will make a file which is a Python file, views.py. So I want to teach you also some of you, when you do your mid exam, so your project name is, for example, big project. But when you submit your file, you change your file name. For example, when you create the zip file, and then you change your file name into your fruit Bernardo, something like this. So this kind of things make everything errors, because the project name should be big project. But when you create the zip file, you change to your name and the project with the name fruit, like this one. So many of you have this kind of problems during the mid exam when I put your file into my computer. I'm not sure whether it is the problem, but yeah, I try to fix those kind of things in my computer, and I can run some of your code. So if you think that that is the problem with your low score, so let me know. Now I have file views.py. Now let's make this one. Let's try to understand this code. The first line is to render. So render means I want to open the HTML file. And in this case, I have one function home, and it will render the index.html. So in to this class, I will just use one HTML file. And then in the urls.py, you need to put a path. So I hope you already understand. We need to put a path. In this case, my path is, I think last time we have several paths here. You don't need to consider this one. If you make your new project, you just add this one. And then there is an error here because the file home should be imported. So home should be imported. So the first is to import the function home, and the other is to put the path. The path means whenever we go to this, so we will go to home. Okay, so be careful. We have another home in this case. I will change this one. I will not choose this one as home. I will just make this one as home to change the root. Okay, so because this is another project, so I will just make it as home for this one, and then I will do with this one for the JavaScript. Now in the index.html, let's make a new file. In the templates, I will make index.html, and let's just copy and paste. So by now, I guess you understand how to create the HTML file. We have the HTML, and then we have head. There is nothing here. And then in the body, we have script. Okay. The script is text using the JavaScript and alert. So alert means I want to put a pop-up in the back. Okay, so it is to show a pop-up message with a given text. So if the text is hello JavaScript, then there will be an alert like this one. Okay, let's run. Okay, so whenever you run the code, then you will see the pop-up, hello JavaScript. So if you click OK, and then if you refresh again, then you will see again the pop-up. So this is the first of the JavaScript, and we are using the command alert. Now, let's append a line in the file name index.html in the folder of templates. Let's put this one. Document.write JavaScript rules. So below this one, we have document.write JavaScript rules. If you look at the result, when you refresh, you will get a pop-up, and then you will see there is a text in the web. It mentioned JavaScript rules. So you can see the difference between the two. Alert. Alert means you can see the pop-up, and document.write. This is what we call as the DOM, document object module. So when you want to access the document with the JavaScript, you want to write something. So you are writing the JavaScript rules. So there are two. So the first is the pop-up, and the other is the result on your web. Now, the question is, when you have a JavaScript, where to write? So there are three things where you can place your code. So the JavaScript code can be placed in the head. So script tag in the head HTML, it is recommended. The script tag in the body. So this is another option, but yeah, sometimes it will have problems. So the tag in the head is still the best recommendation. Or the other things you can use is using the external files. So the external files means you will link the files via the script. And the script which is written in the head. So the files usually have the extension .js. So we have .js. So for example, like this one, I have the script, and I would like to check the source. Where is the JavaScript file? And the type will be text slash JavaScript. It means this is a scripting, and it is in the form of JavaScript. And then you will place any code. Okay. And this is comment. Single bracket with exclamatory sign, dash. Then dash, dash, single bracket. So we call this is comment. We will not execute this one. So the external file is the highly recommended. Highly recommended means, it is much better, because when you put your JavaScript in different files, it is more efficient. It is much clean on your HTML file. And the .js files get cached by the browser. So you still can access the JS file even though it is in the separate file. So now let's create the external file. If you use the JS in the head or body, it is easy because it is inside the HTML. But how if we want to use the external files? We need to create folders for the static external files. So in this example, you will learn how to deal with the static external files. The static external file means not only JavaScript, but you can also use the image, you can also use CSS and etc. Now let's create a folder name, static, as a child of the parent folder. So in this case, if the parent folder is basic.js, then you can make a new directory, static. And after that, for separating the files, okay, so this is important. Whenever you have many files, you need to separate the files. You need to separate image, you need to separate JavaScript, or sometimes you need to separate CSS and other things. So create a different folder. So inside of the static, I want to create image and JS. Okay. Now let's see. In this case, this is the parent folder. So I can make a new directory, and the directory name is static. So this static is a common directory name. So all developers or programmers, they know if they use Django, let's create static. In the future, if you want to change, yeah, it's up to you. You can change the name. And in the static, you can create another directory. So let's make the directory image, and then let's make another directory JS. So there are two kind of images. Oh, sorry, there are two kind of files. The first file is about image, and the other file is about JS. Now you can set it the path to the static folders. So I will just use this one. Go to the settings.py and add some more info. So you can go to the settings, and then let's suppose I put them into the below part. Actually, if you have the original file of the settings, they already have static URL is on the folder static. It means it is just the common understanding between all developers that if you have image, if you have JavaScript and etc., put it into the folder static. So yeah, I have this one. And I want to make sure that we can connect to the folder static. So depending on your operating system, if you are using the Mac, of course, you need to know what is the image, where is the image, where is the JavaScript. If you are using Windows, yeah, they also can recognize where is your image and where is your JavaScript, depending on the OS. So we will define the static files directory which is in the paste directory, and the folder static. And we can also define the static root. So if you have another static files, then you can refer to this name. So in this case, this name will refer to the static files directory. Okay, so this line is originally available, and these two lines to indicate the static files location. Different OS may have different way to access the static folder. Now let's modify the index.html. Let's modify the index.html with this code, and then make sure you have a file name logo.gif in the folder image. So let me just copy and paste this one in the index. This one is the file, and then let me update with this one. Now we are going to connect to the image folder, and there should be a file name which is logo.gif. So let me just download any logo, maybe logo.gif. What is it? This one? Okay, this is good. So I will save this one. What's it? Imijiro daran iramaru jayam. Okay, so I will save this. Maybe I will just save it into the download folder, and let me change the name. Let me change the name to logo. Okay, so the file name will be logo.gif. Logo.gif. Okay, just okay. So I will have the logo.gif here. Now let me just put this file into the folder image in the pie chart. So I will use this folder image, and then I will paste it here. So you can see now I have a new file, logo.gif, in this folder, in this directory. Now we are going to load the file. So we are going to load the file. So we are going to load on the static. Static means the folder static that we already defined. And then let's upload the image. Let's upload the image in the static folder, and inside the folder image, there is a file logo.gif. So let's collect this image, and then if we do the on click, or if you click on the image, then you will show the text click. So the text click means, okay, I will show alert. Alert means I will put it as the top. See, now you can see we have the logo.gif. Okay. When I click this one, then it shows a pop-up. Click like this one. So when it is available on the web, when I click this one, then there will be a pop-up, and this is based on the JavaScript. Okay, so when you click, there will be pop-up. I hope by now you understand the source. The source means where the file that you want to show on your web. And then alt means the alternative when you cannot find the image. On click. So on click means when you click. Okay, so this is the event. When you click this image, let's run this JavaScript. So this JavaScript is a function test, and there is one argument, click. So this argument click, it is the message, and then this message will be the string for the other. And if the text is click, then we will show click. Now let's just change this one. For example, I want to change this to Korea, like this. Okay. So when you refresh, when you click, then you will see Korea in the pop-up. Okay. So this is the text that you will show when you click on the JavaScript section. Okay. So you will see this one. This is the message that will be passed to the function in the JavaScript, and this is the JavaScript that is located on the head. Okay, let me stop here. Let's have a break. Okay, I will continue after the break.